your 4 to 5 on this Friday afternoon. We made it to Friday.
Right.
That's something to
Friday.
celebrate. Sydney, Claire, Eric, and Itanish joining us today on the 4 to 5.
Yes, it's not my Friday, but you know, I'm coming in on my off day. So Wednesday was my Friday, but I'm happy to be here with you all.
That's all right.
Yeah,
A day off's a day off, right?
That's right.
Doesn't matter what it starts with. It all ends in D-A-Y. Day off. Yeah.
And looking behind us too, the weather looks very nice.
Oh
So
my
we'll talk about
gosh. Well,
that.
it was gorgeous this morning. I mean, I had to grab the hoodie out, and the next couple of days we're feeling like fall, but there's going to be one day that's a little bit better than the other one, depending on
Okay.
heading out this weekend. So
All right.
I'll have more on that.
I'm at the edge of my seat. All right, well, before we get to weather, happening right now, Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, is preparing to leave Greensboro. The VP stopped by North Carolina A&T today to talk to some students.
And it's a part of her Fight for Freedom's college tour. She was joined by A&T alum Michael Reagan, who was the acting administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency.
WFMY News 2's Amber Lake joins us live from campus where the Vice President spoke about key issues impacting young people across America. Amber.
Right, guys, from reproductive rights to equality to gun safety, Vice President Kamala Harris discussed a wide range of topics today. The Fight for Our Freedoms college tour officially kicked off yesterday at Hampton University in Virginia. This is a month-long tour focused on, the White House says, mobilizing young people in the fight for equal rights and freedoms. Students were able to ask questions of the Vice President. VP Harris explained the importance of this tour and why there's such a need for change in our country.
And I'm here because I also feel so strongly that you must have the freedom to live your best life.
Hundreds were in attendance for today's event. As you can imagine, so many excited to see and hear from the Vice President and really dive into those topics that matter most to them. The Vice President is set to visit around 12 dozen campuses on this tour. Her next visit is in Pennsylvania on September 19th. Live
Amber, thank you. Greensboro has seen its fair share of presidential politicians recently. Over the summer, former President Donald Trump spoke at the state GOP convention. Last year, President Biden also visited North Carolina A&T to discuss the university's success in education. Then in 2021, Vice President Kamala Harris was stopped by the International Civil Rights Center and Museum.
Here's a list of the other presidential candidates who stopped in the triad. In 1951, Harry Truman spoke at the groundbreaking of Wake Forest College, which we now know as Wake Forest University. In 1976, President Gerald Ford visited Greensboro and Winston-Salem. He stopped by the Guilford Courthouse National Military Park and delivered a speech at Haynes Mall. Jimmy Carter stopped by Wake Forest University in 1978. Fast forward to 2006 when George W. Bush shook hands at Stamey's Barbecue in Greensboro. He also visited Faulkner Elementary School. And last but not least, Barack Obama made 2 trips to the triad during his presidency. In 2011 in Jamestown at Guilford Tech and 2016 at North Carolina A&T. Now, that has been a long list of presidential candidates that have come here to North Carolina, and I think it's because we're that battleground or swing state, so we can either be on the Democratic side for the candidates or Republican, and they've got to get those votes in.
Yeah, definitely a lot of history
That's
here
exactly
in
what
Greensboro.
it is. I mean, it's because North Carolina as a whole, it seems like we're always that state they need to pull to one side or the other.
Yeah, that's right, absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of activity.
Well, new at 4, a man convicted of a gruesome assault decades ago has been pronounced dead. Today, the Winston-Salem police announced an investigation into the death of 52-year-old Calvin Smith. Police say he was found dead Wednesday on Charleston Court.
Preliminary evidence discovered during the investigation suggests no foul play was involved in Mr. Smith's death. The body had been out for a while, so that's why we brought in the Criminal Investigation Division. Anytime there's an unidentified death, we're going to investigate it.
Now, you may remember who Smith is. In 1995, he was sentenced to 29 years in prison after the assault of Jill Marker. Smith was accused of beating Marker at the Silk Plant Forest store in Winston-Salem. Investigators say the attack left Marker blind, brain damaged, and permanently disabled. In 2016, Smith was released after a judge granted him time served because the judge heard a motion that stated Smith's trial attorney failed to present evidence that could have led to a shorter sentence for Smith. This is a developing story.
It's been a gorgeous day thus far this morning, even a little bit chilly for some folks. And right now, here's a live look in Greensboro. Lots and lots of sunshine thanks to high pressure building into the area. Temperatures right now in the middle 70s. Really can't get much better than that across the area. Middle and upper 70s, 76. Also in High Point and Dew Points, also fairly comfortable, especially compared to what we've been seeing for the past several weeks. Sitting in the lower and middle 50s. Next 12 hours, we're falling back into the more comfortable 70s and 60s, even middle and upper 50s by the time we head into tomorrow. And for those of you that may be heading on out to the Asheboro and Randleman game, kickoff is at 7 o'clock, lower 70s around that time. Might want a light jacket though if you're planning on staying out late. Heading into tonight, we're back into the middle 50s, and the next couple of days back in the 70s and 80s. I've got more in your forecast and on the tropics. That's coming up.
Claire, thank you. Local officials and executives held a ceremonial groundbreaking this morning for Marshall USA. The facility will be located at PTI and is Marshall's first U.S. facility. The company will repair and maintain C-130 cargo planes. The 200,000 square foot facility will employ more than 200 people once it's complete.
In the hangar is going to be maintenance, repair, overhaul, and modifications. By doing that as a U.S. company, we can be closer to our military services, and also that we can provide more capabilities as a U.S. company that we couldn't provide, from the U.K.
Marshall Aerospace is no stranger to the industry. The company designed the iconic cone-shaped nose that was used on the Concorde. Marshall USA will start hiring next summer and plans to begin operating in January of 2025. And Marshall joins Boom Supersonic and Honda Jet as companies to expand at PTI.
Now let's get to your 4 to 5 roundup. You may run into some extra traffic this weekend. NC is planning to close a section of I-40 East in Guilford County. If the weather holds up, all lanes of the highway will be closed on I-40 from Gallimore Dairy Road to Gate City Boulevard starting at 9 p.m. In this area, I-40 East will only be open to local traffic. Exit 213 Guilford College Road and 218A Freeman Mill Road. This is all for a resurfacing project. All lanes are expected to reopen Monday at 6 a.m.
Lawmakers in Raleigh appear primed to approve de-annexation, clearing the way for the villages of Summerfield Farms in the town. Developer David Couch proposed building residential and retail space on his land in the center of Summerfield. The project has drawn mixed reactions from residents who don't want the land to be touched. When town leaders rejected the development, Senator Berger stepped in, writing a letter to the mayor saying he wants the project to happen and plan to push de-annexation through at the state level. It's already passed 2 votes in the Senate. Both the House and Senate are expected to make the final vote on this next Tuesday.
Well, 2 Gifford County Schools teachers have new titles, Principal and Teacher of the Year. GCS just named elementary educator Marin Mesa as its Teacher of the Year. Mesa is a first grade dual language teacher at Hunter Elementary. Part of his teaching philosophy is facilitating knowledge students can apply and demonstrate in their day-to-day lives. The district also named Dr. Janita Reedus as its Principal of the Year. Dr. Reedus leads Blueford STEM Academy and says being, quote, intentional has been her constant word and reflection tool. We spoke to both of them on the Good Morning Show.
I have an amazing staff, and we tried to make sure that we had the mindset to do what we needed to do to encourage our learners to read, to do math, science, social studies, all subject areas, but to take it in chunks, little small chunks, and it made a huge difference.
The size of your accomplishment is the size of your dreams and purposes. So basically, we just embrace diversity. It's a safe zone in which they can express opinions, make mistakes, without the fear to be judged.
So both Reedus and Mesa each received $1,000 at their annual Celebration of Excellence event at Ragsdale High School. You can see their full interview with us on our website, WFMYnews2.com. Welcome back. You know, filmmaking on a local or even regional level can be very difficult, but when you find the right story, you know you just got to do it right. And that's what local filmmaker Tumani Johnson did with his new film called Sift. I spoke with him about this project. TJ, tell me how you came about this this project, because this is just, it kind of fell in your lap.
Well, I was just one night browsing through Craigslist, and I saw an ad looking for a documentary filmmaker to help out with put together a documentary film about a band called Sift. So I contacted them and I reached out and we connected, and yeah, it was a perfect documentary for me to do because it was just like this amazing band that nobody never heard of.
So tell me the story about this band. You know, they had to had a history together, that type of thing. Talk about that.
They started in the early 90s just as teenagers playing music together in Boston, and it just evolved to 30 years of making music together. And what really makes the story special is the friendship between the two bandmates, Kurt Meinhold and Justin Burmeister. The band was together for about 20 years, and then they disbanded and then reconnected, and they started making music together, and it was just like they never missed a beat. It just kept going, and they continued to make music together. And then unfortunately Justin passed away, died from cancer in 2020, which kind of sparked the necessity to have this documentary to tell this story.
So when people watch this, what's the takeaway?
Sift's music is really good. I really like their music, and they, like I said, no one has really ever heard of them. They were popular in Boston as local band, kind of a garage band tour, playing gigs within Boston. And then, Kurt moved to North Carolina, and they kind of spread their wings. So it's like more people need to hear this music, and I think the story behind it really speaks to the type of music that they create, because they definitely have passion for it, and you can hear it in the music.
Hey man, thank you for sharing this story. I can't wait to see this documentary. I know you put a lot of work into it. This is great. So it's interesting because it's kind of it's the story that every city has, right? There are local bands that people know locally and they love them. Mm-hmm. They never quite make it, and then so it's kind of the story of the typical local band story. Eventually, one of them actually passed away from cancer, mm-hmm. and that's what kind of got them back together to tell their story. And then Tumani did this story, excellent job.
I can only imagine how fun it was to go through each person, sit down with them one by one, learn about their history, learn about the different things that created them into who they were created to be. But the other thing, I bet he struggled with, like, oh my gosh, I don't want to leave some of these things out. There's so much stuff that I don't want to leave out. I bet he had to wrestle through that too.
I mean, it's what we do with stories all the time. There's so much more we want to put into it, but we only have so much time. But with the film, he can let it breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think the great thing about this is you have the film to keep their memory alive, and then you also have their music as well that will help people to be more exposed to, because I had no idea about who they were, so people can now learn about this music that we didn't know about.
It's true. So the band's name is Sift, like sifting through the sand, so it's siftmusic.com. You can check it out. We'll be right back. Well, if you're thinking about heading east, maybe down toward the coast this weekend, although temperatures are going to be absolutely perfect. It looks pretty normal here at Wrightsville Beach near Wilmington, but just know that that rip current, that warning will be issued and is issued right now all along the coast. That hurricane, even though it's way out into the Atlantic, it still plays a role with rip current, so be very careful of that.
Eric, thank you. New England is bracing for Hurricane Lee, which is expected to arrive this afternoon in southern New England. Gusty winds and heavy rain lashed Bermuda last night as the storm tracked northward through the western Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, and on Cape Cod, the owner of this clamming boat was able to secure his boat on the dock, hoping it can withstand any strong storm surge.
Seas are pretty big right now. They got big ground swells out there. So everybody's rushing in and securing the boats.
Work is underway for those who live and work on Maine's coast. This is what it looked like in Stonington today as fishermen brought their boats ashore.
For fishermen and lobstermen on the coast of Maine, Thursday marks the quite literal calm before the storm.
Sunday I started looking at this and started making plans. I needed a little bit of work done anyway, and I didn't want to take any chances, so I raced around, hauled through my gear, and was the first person down here this morning to get hauled out, so I got my lobster boat and my skiff out.
As Hurricane Lee approaches, many have been working together to get their boats to safety.
You know, when things start getting like this, everybody pulls together because, you know, you've had lifetimes of this kind of living. It's part of the lifestyle. And everybody cares for each other for the most part, and, you know, everybody's there to help other people.
The entire operation spans a couple of days.
The guys doing the travel lift here have been here late at night and very early in the morning. They've been going non-stop.
And it's been all hands on deck.
I took my stepson out of school for just half a day, just so he could help us get the boats hauled out.
Tristan is a 15-year-old lobsterman who was bringing his little brother's boat to shore.
My dad doesn't really like him running it when he's alone, so he's younger than me, but I just helping my dad out before the storm.
The boats you see out on the water represent more than just a job. It's a lifestyle that, for many, goes back generations.
Our whole livelihood, everything you got is sitting on that mooring out there.
With Maine under its first hurricane watch in 15 years, President Biden approved an emergency declaration for the state. Maine is expected to see the brunt of the storm Saturday.
Meanwhile, our state is preparing for the impacts of Hurricane Lee to a degree as well. DOT is shoring up the dune along NC 12 in the Outer Banks. We talk about this all the time. The highway often deals with flooding and overwash, which can create dangerous driving conditions. The National Weather Service has issued a coastal flood warning.
And here is the latest on Hurricane Lee, which holds on to Category 1 hurricane strength with winds sustained at around 80 miles per hour. Pressure sits at around 965 millibars, continuing to push northeast between 15 to 20 miles per hour. Again, going to begin to make landfall into tomorrow afternoon and into the evening, especially weakening as it does so, bringing a lot of heavy surf and rip currents right there along the coast there, especially into Maine. Here's a look at what is soon to be Nigel, tropical depression number 15, and it is also going to be a monster. At least that's what the forecast is showing heading into the middle and later end of next week. Most models are suggesting it is going to take a turn north, so keeping an eye on it, not completely out of the clear here, but as for right now, not something to be too concerned about. Heading into this weekend, we're back in the lower 80s, a crisp start in the upper 50s, plenty of sunshine. Some more showers and storms beginning to make their way into the area on Sunday.
It's a sticky situation many of us have found ourselves in at some point, stepping into a wad of tossed out chewing gum. One artist is trying to brighten people's day by turning those blobs into miniature masterpieces. Ian Lee has the story from London.
There's a big, wide world under our feet, but woe if it sticks to the sole of your shoe. Where you see gum, British artist Ben Wilson sees a canvas.
I'm taking something that's thrown away and discarded, and then hopefully utilising it and making it into something beautiful.
Ben found a clever legal loophole to showcase his art.
This has a whole narrative to it.
Because no one owns the gum on the ground, he's technically not defacing public property.
While Ben imagines each piece's potential, local governments just see a problem. Cleaning up wads of tossed out gum costs cities around the UK millions of dollars every year.
The idea of painting gum popped into Ben's head 20 years ago. At his studio, he experiments with spearmint.
I think it's mint. I'd found this little space where I could create a form of art, where I could be spontaneous and do something which evolves out of the place in which it's created in.
He hopes his work gives people passing by something to chew on.
I think it's very clever. I mean, just creative.
He really makes this bridge more cute and lovely than before.
While Ben finds joy turning this trash into artistic treasure, he says it won't burst his bubble if people just throw their gum away.
And Ben Wilson, who has been dubbed Pavement Picasso by some, he also creates little tiles that he leaves around London's subway to add a dash of color to people's day.
Well, the designs look cool.
They do.
I just want to put that out there. The designs look real.
But
let me just put that out there.
That's right.
They look very, very cool, but it's
I
just
couldn't
very
do that.
interesting, right?
Well, and when he started heating it to get it make it more pliable,
Right there, yeah.
and I just thought to myself, don't touch that
And
gum.
the thing about gum too, when you're your own gum,
Right,
gum, and you
right.
drop your own gum and you pick it up, it gets stuck and it's just, and you're having to deal with all that. And one of the frames I saw just kind of how the leftover of some of the pieces was just all over his hand.
I commend him. I would need gloves. He was doing it with his bare hands.
Yeah, no thanks.
That was in somebody's
He had
mouth.
he had the little stencil thing at one point though. He was using it and taking it off.
It's art, I get it.
Yeah.
It's just so straight, I couldn't touch that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's why we're here.
That's right, that's right. That's why we stay right here.
We'll be back at 4:30.
Welcome back to the 4 to 5 Friday edition, which means there's extra fun and happiness.
Extra fun and
Extra fun and
happiness. I
happiness.
really like that.
Hey, and only one fry.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, was that too
you.
soon? Yeah.
Clear fry.
Okay, I was like, unless it went above me.
On Friday. That's okay. No, it's okay.
Okay.
I always make a joke.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. Friday. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. You own
Friday.
it.
Yes, only because it feels pretty nice outside.
It is beautiful.
Amazing.
I will definitely take credit for this fall-like weather, especially in these next few days.
I didn't get to embrace it like I really wished I did. I wish I woke up a little bit earlier, got out to feel the cool weather, but I kind of overslept. So.
Oh no.
But tomorrow is another day.
And that's what I'm gonna do.
That's right. We'll
Tomorrow
hold it for a while.
Oh yeah, but it is going to be a little bit cooler these next couple of mornings, back in the 50s, still 60s heading into this weekend, back in the 70s and 80s for the weekend as well. But as of right now, absolutely gorgeous for those of you heading out and about. Upper 70s and high point with the dew point in the lower 60s. Very dry across the Carolinas. That's all thanks to high pressure building in from the north. Temperatures right now are in the middle and upper 70s. Very comfortable here just after 4:30, and dew points are comfortable as well, sitting in the 50s. Next 12 hours, we're back down to the 60s and 50s, perhaps sweater weather in the morning. Time to put on that heat before putting it back into the AC for the afternoons as we sit back in the 80s and even in the 70s into Sunday. Of the 2 weekend days, I would say Saturday is your best bet to be outdoors without having to see any rainfall. Showers and storms are going to become a little bit more possible into Sunday, with moisture coming in and funneling in from the south, all ahead of a approaching cold front heading our way into Sunday night. 7-day forecast into next week. Lots of things to look forward to. Lots and lots of sunshine with temperatures sitting in the middle and upper 70s. Overnight lows, upper 50s and lower 60s, with high pressure sitting over the area. Lots of dry air continuing to funnel into the triad through the middle and later end of next week.
For the first time in American history, the United Auto Workers are striking against the so-called Big Three automakers at the same time. Economists say every day that the auto workers are off the job, the greater the impact it has on the American economy.
With auto workers on the picket line instead of the assembly line, President Biden addressed the biggest labor action of his presidency.
It's my hope that the parties can return to the negotiation table to forge a win-win agreement. To continue our active engagement, I'm dispatching 2 members of my team to Detroit.
The big 3 automakers, Ford, GM, and Stellantis, are making record profits.
Record corporate profits, which they have, should be shared by record contracts for the UAW.
The United Auto Workers Union is asking for a 40% pay hike. Automakers have offered half that. The UAW is also seeking a shorter work week and a return of pension plans.
For the life of the contract, the initial demands were over $100 billion. We still have a ways to go with the offer they put on the table last night.
GM CEO Mary Barra told CBS News the companies need to step up their investment in new technology as vehicles transition from gas to EV.
Negotiations are on hold until Saturday. Economists say with each day of the strike, more ripple effects will be felt, impacting all Americans.
The best estimates that we've seen as far as the cost of the strike, it could potentially be upwards of $5 billion of total damage in the first 10 days.
It's also a tricky political problem for the president, who has called himself the most pro-union president in American history. But he's also banking on an improving economy as he runs for re-election.
Let's get to your 4 to 5 roundup. We are learning more about a mysterious death investigation in Winston-Salem. Today, police identified a body found on Wednesday as 52-year-old Calvin Smith. Officers found him on Charleston Court nearby Forsyth Tech. Right now, investigators say foul play is not involved. In 1995, he was convicted of a gruesome assault that left a woman blind, brain damaged, and permanently disabled. A judge sentenced him to 29 years in prison, but in 2016, he was released on time served. This is a developing story. We will have more coming up on WFMY News 2 at 5.
An investigation is underway at UNC Greensboro after a car caught fire on campus. It happened yesterday outside of the Oakland parking deck. Officials say 3 other cars were also damaged. This is the second car fire on campus in the last 2 weeks. The first happened in the parking deck at the MacIver parking deck. Foul play isn't suspected in either of these cases.
Well, get ready for some extra traffic this weekend. NC A&T is planning to close a section of I-40 East in Guilford County. If the weather holds up, all lanes of the highway will be closed from exit 212A to exit 227 starting at 9 p.m. In this area, I-40 East will only be open to local traffic between exit 213 and 218A. This is all for a resurfacing project. All lanes are expected to reopen Monday morning at 6.
Well, actor Sean Penn's latest movie is not filmed on a Hollywood set. It actually takes place on the front lines of the war in Ukraine. Michael George sat down with the actor to talk about how the movie Superpower changed him.
This was a living room, that was a bedroom.
Thousands of miles from the comforts of Hollywood, actor Sean Penn takes us to the front lines of Ukraine in his new film, Superpower, and reveals a part of himself audiences don't usually see.
When you first went to Ukraine, this is not the film that you originally set out to make.
Not at all.
Penn originally planned to make a lighthearted profile of Volodymyr Zelensky, the comedic actor turned president. But as they were filming in Ukraine, Russia launched its brutal invasion.
People want to forget what's going on in the East, believe me, and now they destroyed everything on the East.
Over 7 visits to Ukraine, Penn forged a deeply personal relationship with President Zelensky.
I have tremendous affection and an enormous respect for him and for what he represents of all Ukrainians.
You even went to the front lines. At one point, 150 meters away from the Russian advance. Why did you feel it was important to get that up close?
I think that if there's a value that I can bring to something, and that we, in the making of this film, can bring to something, you want to give the context.
Can I be very blunt? You're Sean Penn. Nobody's going to be responsible for you dying on the front line.
Penn hopes the film shows Americans how desperately Ukraine needs military support.
The war they're fighting is led by freedom, but it can't be fought, in this case, sadly, without weapons, and we should be giving them everything they need yesterday.
If we committed the way that you're talking about, do you think this war could have already been won?
No question about it.
And he hopes Ukraine's determination serves as a model for the rest of the world.
Where you have unity, you have courage, you have power, you have principle, you have pride.
Can we as Americans learn from the Ukrainian people?
I think if we don't, we're over.
Wow.
So the movie Superpower premieres on Paramount Plus. This is Monday, and believe it or not, it's been 568 days since Russia first invaded Ukraine.
Wow.
Obviously, it moved Sean Penn quite a bit. You could see it in his face.
You know, when you rewatch movies that are based on true events, I mean, I can count many of movies that I've watched that have left a huge impact on me as well, too. But sometimes you often don't think about the filmmakers and the producers and the directors and the actors on set, that it brings a whole nother emotion with them being right there in the middle of it, trying to remake a movie that just was based on a true story.
I mean, it's a documentary, right? Like, they're just there showing what happened. And if you saw, one of those translators was saying, you realize you can die if you're up here on the front lines. And he said, story's got to be told.
Yeah, I commend him for making that sacrifice, putting his life on the line so we can have a better understanding of what happened out there, because we weren't there, and he's telling those stories that some of us may end up never knowing if he didn't make that sacrifice.
You see it firsthand. Yeah, that's true. All right, about 20 minutes before 5 o'clock, we'll take a short break.
Oh, they can do it now. Hey, mic check 1, 2, 3. Sorry, we've been up. I don't know what happened, but mic check, mic check. I have the coach with me. Cool. Oh, they thought we were with B-Hall. Well, welcome back to your 4 to 5. Happy Friday,
Yes.
of course. Today, or tonight that is, we have a great matchup for our Friday Football Fever game of the week. We got Randleman versus Asheboro High School.
Yeah, it's a cross-county matchup for two schools under 14 miles apart. The Randleman Tigers are undefeated while the Asheboro Blue Comets are looking to get back on track.
Well, WFMY News 2's Amanda Ferguson is live in Asheboro ahead of the game. Amanda, it's a good night for football, right?
Hey, we are getting ready for our Friday Football Fever game of the week here at Randleman. Asheboro is coming over here. The Tigers coming to this game undefeated. It's a pretty big matchup, but there's actually something deeper going on here at Randleman. I'm with head coach Shane Timmons right now. He just found out about 2 weeks ago, that his daughter, Ophelia, she's nearly 2 years old. She's got a brain tumor. Coach, when you hear news like that, what goes through your mind?
I mean, it's shock. Of course, you have a little PTSD for that first 24 hours or so, and they were able to go in and get 75% of the brain tumor. And when that 12-hour surgery was done, you know, I have this peace come about me, and my wife just kind of pass out in the hospital room, and you know, you have a peace, and you think, okay, it's going to be all right, and then you take one day at a time. So it definitely puts things in perspective. But the biggest thing that's come out of it is my community, the coaches in my conference, the coaches around the state, really, and different folks. Man, it's just our capacity for good and the goodness of people.
Never any good time to hear news like that, but you hear that in the beginning of the football season. How do you compartmentalize between that, what's going on with your family, and the game that you coach?
Well, what we're called to do is be our best in whatever circumstance. So whether it's doing an interview or coaching a team or being dad or being a worker, you should be excellent and charge at it as hard as you can. We talk about running like a buffalo, pointing straight at the storm and running as hard as you can at your problems.
We don't know if you're leaving, and things are so up in the air right now. It could be your last game coaching for a while. You mentioned your pregame message to the guys. I just want everybody to hear that real quick.
I don't have words for you, man, besides I love you, you know, and go out and have fun, man. It's a game. It's a game. Go out and have fun, and we make it important.
Coming up tonight, our Friday Football Fever game of the week, 7:30, right here at Randleman. Guys.
All right, Amanda, thank you. Looking forward to that. From high school to the collegiate level, all eyes are on ACC football. According to the conference, the ACC's page posted this on Facebook, basically praising Florida State University, Clemson, Duke, and Miami for games with over 4 million viewers through week 2. They say no other conference has had more than one. ACC college football picks back up tonight with the Virginia Cavaliers versus Maryland tonight at 7.
In case you missed it, one of North Carolina A&T's best athletes is making a return to football. For the last 3 years, former Aggie running back Tariq Cohen has had to take a step back from the NFL. The HBCU star was drafted by the Chicago Bears in 2017 and had a breakout season in 2019. Cohen has been out of the league since September of 2020 when he tore his ACL, MCL, and fractured his tibia. He missed the entire 2021 season rehabbing that injury and then missed all of 2022 after tearing his Achilles in a personal workout. Now, all hope was not lost until this week when Carolina Panthers signed him to the practice squad, bringing the hometown hero back here to North Carolina. Well, we love a good comeback story. Okay? Like, I commend him. All those injuries, he didn't give up, and now he's going to be on that practice team. I'm excited to see him out.
And I bet a whole bunch, Aggie fans are excited to see him back as well too. But no, you described it right. We love a good comeback story. Injuries are never, obviously a good thing. They definitely can be really scary, and sometimes people can see the end of their career a lot sooner than they hope. So I'm excited for him.
The list of injuries, that was massive.
It was a list.
And I didn't know that. Now I know why I hadn't seen him in a while. When he was with the Bears, it definitely was A&T. They called him Tariq the Freak. And he was incredible out there as a running back. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully he'll make the team.
Yeah.
Very good. We'll take a break. Be right back.
Scarowinds kicks off tonight in Charlotte, and as we gear up for another Halloween season, Safety is still top of mind for many. You'll remember last year's kickoff weekend at Scarowinds, guests had a very real scare. Mass panic spread as people ran from rumors of gunfire. The park says no shots were fired, but unruly teenagers were to blame for the chaos. Julia Kaufman shares what security measures Carowinds has this year and what scares you can look forward to.
On your trip to Scarowinds this spooky season, it's not only scary monsters you'll find roaming about. Sheriff's deputies and private security will be on alert to keep visitors safe. There's also a chaperone policy in place after an incident that happened during opening weekend last year.
Everyone's running, everybody.
Park staff say some teenagers sparked rumors of gunshots. Panicked crowds fled from the fake threat. Now anyone 15 or younger must be accompanied by someone 21 or older after 4 p.m. Weber says in the last year, the chaperone policy has been effective.
Throughout the year, those guests who were underage were escorted out of the park by our security team if they were found to be of that age.
During Scarowinds, there is a no-bag policy. You can enjoy the 5 scare zones and 6 haunted mazes every Friday through Sunday from 7 to midnight.
I'm sorry, it was the lady. I was laughing.
Those costumes. I will tell you one time. So one time I went to this thing, and the person was hiding in a fake trash can, and so they had he had a hat on that was like cardboard, and they had fake trash on the top. So when he went down in it, all you saw was the trash.
Yep.
And then he popped out, and I about lost my mind.
I've been chased by I really have been. And we were talking about how I like horror movies yesterday, but I can't do the haunted, scary mansions. And so basically, I went with my family. I got out of the car. There was a clown, and he had skates. And he got, and my family was long gone, and I ran back to my car, and I was trapped inside the car because the guy was just standing there. I was like, let me
She's
get
like
back
Pennywise
to my family.
from It. My God. See, you just stop with a clown on skates. That's all I need to know.
That's it. Well, we had season passes, and it was always the guy on the stilts.
Yes.
That just scared me. The guy who's like 15 feet up.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I had to think about
who
it.
just shouldn't be that high off the ground. You know, I'm like, little kid me wanted to go kick the stilt.
Get away from me.
Right.
Both of y'all need to do Woods of Terror.
I have a scary story as well from Michigan. When I was back home, we had like this orchard that they turned it into a scary theme. And I was very young, and there was a guy that was like Jason. And he had a chainsaw. And so as a kid, I thought it was a real chainsaw. And I'm like, I am not, when I tell you we didn't walk through, we didn't even get our tickets, I said, I'm not going
I'm done. I did the same
I'm
thing.
staying in the car.
I called my dad. I said, I'm not going in there.
I can't.
I'm so sorry.
We're going home.
I would love to put a GoPro on you and let you go through Woods of Terror and just watch the reaction.
It would be awful.
It's horrible.
Well, there you have it.
Well, fall weather's here. At least we have that.
Yeah, absolutely. Feeling a little bit more spooky, I would say, especially these next couple of days. And the mornings, at least, going to be pretty cool in the 50s and 60s heading into this weekend. A look at the futurecast. Lots of sunshine as high pressure builds into the area for Saturday. More opportunity, though, into Sunday for some scattered showers and storms, all ahead of a cold front. So if you are planning on spending time outdoors this weekend and you're picking the day, Saturday is the day to do it. A look at the high-res futurecast, couple of pop-ups again possible very late Saturday, early Sunday, but the bulk of that moisture pushing into the area late Sunday morning and into early afternoon. So make sure you are keeping the umbrella on hand throughout the day on Sunday. Clouds sticking around as we head into early Monday morning. 7-day forecast, though, featuring majority of sunshine, middle upper 70s and lower 80s, upper 50s and lower 60s. Not too bad with high pressure also dominating as we head into next week. Lots of sunshine, very comfortable as well.
Hello, mic check, 1, 2, 3. Oh, is IT Nice on the 5?
Yes.
Welcome.
Hey, I am joining Julie on the 4 to 5 today. Yes, that green is really pretty. That's
like
a
a
really pretty.
No, I can't stand at the green screen, that's for sure. Hi there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
We need to do more, and that means we need the people in Congress to have the courage to act.
Keep going, keep going.
Mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1.
Well, it's time for my 2 cents, and today I'm talking about old TV. So I noticed recently that Frasier is getting a reboot on one of the streaming channels. I thought this is really cool. Kelsey Grammer's coming back. I loved that show. So I started thinking about all the old shows, and I went down the rabbit hole, and I said, you know what? All those shows, characters had catchphrases. You remember that? 70s, 80s, and 90s, all those shows had catchphrases. So corny, but funny. And we remember them. So I'm going to give you a list, see how many of these you can get right. I'm only going to get a second or two after each one. This first one. Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. Incredible Hulk, yes. You got to do the hands for this one. Hey, Fonzie on Happy Days. How about Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you. Red Fox, Sanford and Son, very good. Did I do that? Steve Urkel, Family Matters. How about Good Night, John Boy? The Waltons. I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling kids. That was at the end of every Scooby-Doo. This one makes me laugh. Mel, kiss my grits. Who said that? Flo on Alice. Yes, not Flo from Progressive. That's a whole different thing. Make It So, number 1. That's Captain Picard, Star Trek Next Generation. This was too easy. I'm not even going to give you a chance. Marsha, Marsha, Marsha. Jan on the Brady Bunch. This is a harder one. Mom Always Liked You Best. That's from the Smothers Brothers show. That was a long time ago. How about this one? These are 2 Saturday Night Live characters that made it big time, and everybody knew these phrases. Swing. Wayne's World. Yes, very good. And, well, isn't that special? Church Lady, played by Dana Carvey on Saturday Night Live. Nice job. Nicely done. You know all those. Even Nip It in the Bud. That was Barney Fife on Andy Griffith. Now you know. Come up with your own corny catchphrase. We should all do that in life. Have a catchphrase for every day. Hey, I've got a phrase for you. That's just my 2 cents. And that's your 4 to 5. WFMY News 2 at 5 starts now.
The Triad welcomes a special visitor. Vice President Kamala Harris made a stop at North Carolina A&T in Greensboro this afternoon.
Today's visit is just one of several stops along her